All right. Hi, I'm Kelsey Hanson, and I'm the facilitator for this discussion. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm one of the group members.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm one of the group members.
Hi, I'm Akuvi. I'm one of the group members.
All right, so for this discussion, we looked at advocacy. We looked at Gail from chapter 19, her story. We looked at the PSU or the Penn State examples with Gareth and Genevieve and all of them. And then we looked at videos of Vanessa with her father. So I'm gonna start off this discussion just asking, how would you be an advocate for high and low tech AAC devices?
I think one of the biggest ways is kind of having the person experience it themselves. So I don't have a ton of, I can't even think of the word, a ton of experience with students that use like an AAC device, low tech or high tech. But I feel like after watching the videos and doing the readings, you really get to see what the benefits of it are. And I think just kind of taking your time sitting down with the person and telling them what the benefits are and showing them how it works. I think just walking them through it.
Yeah,
I think too, like with Vanessa, being able to like see how she wasn't talking at all and she was like guiding her parents somewhere, and then now she is like saying words and like trying to pronounce things. Like it really is important to help kids learn their speech and maybe be able to speak. I think she's a little different than some people with the AAC devices. Like some students might not be able to speak, but she's getting now the speech.
Yes, so I'm going to do a little lecture here. I'm going to start with the definition of the AAC device in our textbook in chapter 1. IDEA 2004 defined AAC device as any item, piece of equipment or product system, whether equipped commercially off the shelf, that is used to increase and maintain or improve functional capabilities of a child with disabilities. So we know that these AAC devices help those kids to express themselves and to interact with each other, their peer. And so kids like Vanessa, this device helped Vanessa to blossom. And in one word, this device helps those kids to succeed in their academic life. So throughout our course, we've seen a lot of students like Adriana, Michael, John, and so many who use the AAC device, and that was helpful to them. So it actually gave them hope. And I really like the comments of the video of the last module, the module 5. The video's name is Language Stealers. I don't know if you saw the video, Language Stealer. That was the first video on the module 5. So some students made the comments there, and I really love the comments. So they said, we want to read, we want to write, we want to speak, we have rights. Language is telling, asking, commenting, directing, correcting, choosing, talking, arguing, and not just naming things. And that shows how important the AAC device are for these students.
yeah. I think you've phrased that very well. And I think it's important to note that as educators, we are the advocates for these students and doing what's best for them. So that brings me to the next one. How would you approach school principals, parents, superintendents, insurance companies, and other professionals who were strongly against the use of AAC devices?
I think you have to start with the facts. I think like what gets people and what like the data is what's going to show them what is working and what we can do with the AAC devices. If you don't have your facts, if you don't have your data, they might not even listen. They want to see that before you say anything else about how it could benefit that specific student. They want to hear about the other students, of how like Vanessa, or like the data of how kids have learned through their speech, how they have maybe been included in regular education because using their devices, and like always making sure that you have those facts.
I think too, like a way you could bring it up or approach it is, you know, if you were to have an IEP meeting for that specific student, you could, you know, invite people in, if it's okay with the families and if it's okay with the school that have had a child that have used an AAC device and how it's, you know, benefited them. And I think, you know, just hearing from people that maybe are in the same situation or a similar situation as them and kind of, you know, show them how helpful it could be and, you know, help them reach their goals.
And I think also the first thing they need to know include the teacher. We are fighting for the best interest for the child, right? So we want them to be successful. And how can a non-verbal student succeed in the class if he can't participate, if he can't interact? He needs his device. So that's why he needs his voice, which is the AAC device. Imagine us, somebody take our voices just for 30 minutes, how that will be, how we might react. So I think we need to let them aware be that, and then they also need to be aware of the myths and the reality of the AAC. In the we discussed about that in the chapter. I don't know which chapter, I can't remember. Yes.
Yeah. And I like, just to bring it back to the first point, I think Megan brought it up, or I don't remember, but just talking about the data, like I think you can't argue with data, you know, like, so if you bring like success from other students that they had with AAC devices and improvements in language and communication, I think that that's like hard evidence, especially for the higher ups like superintendents and all of that. And then also just looking at like having other parents come into the IEP meetings or people that experience, like just watching Vanessa's videos, like you can see how that parent was so moved and affected by her having that AAC device. So yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so next question. How would you approach a conversation where you had to convince the same groups that we were just talking about that believed AAC devices were appropriate for some kids, but did not believe that your student needed an AAC device?
I think for me, I would ask why they think that specific student didn't need it, like why they're feeling that way, like what they're seeing that maybe I'm not seeing, and then kind of build off that conversation and kind of like, if it's something where like they do say some words or they're using sign language, like, all right, let's talk about how an AAC device could actually benefit the student and how maybe then they're more included with their peers, and like kind of letting them lead the conversation. And then like, again, going back to the data of how that an AAC device could bridge some barriers that the student is having.
Yeah, I like what you said there too, because you know, even if the student just like, you know, Vanessa could after a while, like they were talking about how she could, you know, babble or she could say like some words. So if you like had a student that started out like that, you know, maybe they can do more though, right? And so it's kind of like what we've been learning all course, where you don't, as the educator, as the teacher, as the advocate, you don't want to like set the low standard and just, you know, believe that they can't do more, right? So you want to, you know, believe that they can, you know, do everything and, you know, their best potential.
So if they don't believe my student can have access of the device, why not invite them into my class? So they can watch me, you know, teach the kids, and we might invite the occupational therapists and who has those people who are who are included in the selection, the choice selection of the device. So we can all invite them, show them the data, how we work, and then through that, we can all go through the SEET SETT, I mean the SETT framework. So from that, we can all choose the selection. So we know the SEET includes the environment. What are the kids' strength, the weakness, and if they don't believe me, so we can all sit down and work through, and then maybe that might convince them and choose the right AAC device for the kids.
Yeah, I think it's important to pick the right one. And I also love the idea of inviting them in to see it, because I think a lot of the time these people are removed from our classroom, and seeing it in action could really change their perspective. So that's great. So the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is just hearing your experiences with AAC devices. Yeah.
I don't have any experience with any kids using the AAC device, so I can't tell anything about it. Yes.
When I was student teaching, I actually was at Devereaux. So everyone had either an iPad or a book that they were using. They were all, I mean, there was 5 boys and they were all on different levels. One had, his book was a lot smaller than anyone's. Another had a big binder of all words that we'd flip through. And then the other 3 had iPads, but they all were using a different program. So it was really hard to learn. And like, credit to that teacher and the para, and I was only there for like 6 weeks. Like, I wasn't there the whole student teaching, and it was hard learning, but it's cool to see them use it on their own and know, like when one got super frustrated, he'd bang, but then they would be like, okay, you have to tell me. And he'd run over to his iPad and he'd say what he wanted, and like being able to use his words and like let us know, instead of like, you're banging, we see you're angry, but you need to use something to tell us why you're angry. And like, then there was another who was a lot more advanced, and he would get angry, but he'd right away show you like, this is, I'm angry, like, look at it. So it was like pretty cool seeing the different scales and different devices.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up, because in the video with Vanessa, that her dad was just talking about how, you know, he just felt bad because, you know, the family didn't know what she wanted, what her needs were before she used the Pro Loco. So it's interesting, you know, that you saw that in your students too. I don't have a ton of experience. I've never had one of my students use an AAC device, but I teach 2nd grade, and one of the students, she uses an iPad to communicate. I'm not sure what program it is, but I see her using with her teachers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because all of our levels vary so much, or like vary, but I think this class has been like so important, because the odds that we are going to see it throughout our careers is very likely. And I think that they should incorporate some of this into like professional developments in school, you know, because it is so important. And I feel like our population's growing. And I mean, it's just gonna become more common, I feel like. So, yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we close it off? Anything that stood out from videos or anything?
No.
No.
Good.
All right. Bye, guys.